This passage is about a book about an artist. Okay, and it talks about the artist Cézanne, who's a Cézanne, a French artist who and a book written about him. It talks about two things. It talks about the painter, his paintings, and also talks about the author of the book and his problems in describing the painter and his paintings. The post Impressionist Cézanne was one of the keenest observers of the industrial disenchantment of the late 19th century Western Europe. In the 21st century, his paintings had become remote to the temper of our times. Remote means distant, cut off. Ergo, tough subject. That means a tough subject. His paintings became a tough subject. Clarke's new Accordingly, Clarke's new study of the painter, Clarke is the author of the book. We don't know the full form, his full name. We've only been given his one name. So we are assuming Clarke. Clarke's new study of the painter. If these apples should fall, Cézanne and the present, is a book about Cézanne and also about the difficulties of writing such a book. So first paragraph says, there is this book which is about Cézanne, also about the difficulties about writing a book about Cézanne. I finally got my pronunciation right. For Clarke, Cézanne felt the modern condition as an intermingled banality and strangeness. Older artists like Pissarro and Impressionists had mixed the two already, and younger ones like Matisse would go on to rearrange them in a number of novel ways. Cézanne found the modern condition, the condition of society is the modern condition, a mix of intermingled banality and strangeness. On one side, it was banal, very routine, very boring, very mundane. On the other hand, it had a lot of strange elements. So it was a mixture of banality and strangeness. Other artists had also found this. Older artists like Pissarro and the Impressionists had mixed the two already. And the younger ones would go on to rearrange the elements in a number of innovative ways. But Cézanne's unique achievement was to balance banality with strangeness. He balanced one with the other so precisely that neither one predominated. In his paintings, his theme, he mixed the two in such a balance that one did not dominate or override the other. His still lifes, paintings, still life, landscapes, and portraits are familiar, but not comfortingly so. They are as vivid and intangible as a hologram. So when you look at his paintings, different types of paintings that he's made, one way they are on familiar themes, so you feel that familiarity. At the same time, not comfortingly so, not so familiar that you become very comfortable watching it. They are vivid. One side, they're very vivid, clear, descriptive, also intangible. It's a strange mix as a hologram. Bright but unnourishing, not even in a stark, grand way that can be dignified into tragedy. So his paintings are a mix of various things, a mix of opposites. And because this is all apparent at a glance, when you look at his paintings, you get all these feelings at a glance. There is no secret waiting to be uncovered. You don't have to really look at them and start searching for secrets. There's no secret waiting to be uncovered. None of the delights of decoding to sweeten the deal. Oh yeah, look, this is there. You don't have to. It's all there on the surface. Everything is on the surface of this painting, yet just out of reach. Look at that. So everything is there, yet you feel it's out of reach. There's something about it that makes it inaccessible. All right? Just remember, you don't have to understand anything more than what the author has said. That's the main thing. For a century, art critics praised Cézanne for the solidity and the indelibility of his images. He gave solid, indelible images, one which cannot, they're clear and solid. So critics have praised him for that, for giving walls and apples and tables a thingness more realistic than conventional realism could manage. His paintings of walls and apples and tables, everything, right, was so realistic. It went beyond the realism of conventional realism. They have a lot of painters who, realistic painters who believed in realism, who believed that painting should depict things as they are, society as it is. And Cezanne went beyond the conventional realism in giving paintings which were solid, indelible, and all that. And critics praised him for that. But that is only half the story. Okay, what is the other half? He tried to convey something solid and indelible about modernity. He tried to convey. After all, his paintings reflect the society he was living in. He tried to convey something solid and indelible. Indelible cannot be erased, right? About modernity. He fell short, but he couldn't really depict modernism. He fell short. Not for lack of talent. Now, why did he fall short? Not because he didn't have the talent to depict it in a painting, but because everything solid in the modern world melts into air. Whatever is solid about the modern world doesn't last forever, isn't indelible, which is why he tried to depict it, fell short, because whatever was real in the modern world would disappear very soon. Instead of assuming emptiness, Cezanne stumbled upon it. He didn't assume that modernism was empty. He stumbled into it. He came into this realization by chance. It was a fitting achievement for his era, the era where he stayed, the era of modernism, modernity. His paintings were a fitting depiction of the era, a fitting achievement for that era, in which the bourgeois alienation had sunk in, but alternatives were still within living memory. Clark has written about the challenges. So, this is as far as his painting, what they depicted, what it couldn't depict. That's gone. Next is about Clark and his book. Clark has written about the challenges of converting pictures into words. You're looking at a picture and you're criticizing it or critiquing it. You're trying to, you're writing a book about Cezanne and his works. So, Clark has written about the difficulty of converting pictures into words. Cezanne's paintings are pictures. On that, you're writing a book, you're converting it into words. And he said it's very challenging. His analysis of paintings are in part analysis of what it means to analyze paintings. Look at the play of words here. So he analyzes Cezanne's paintings, and as part of the analysis, you get a glimpse of what is it to analyze paintings. Words and pictures aren't the same and never will be, right? It's an unanswerable problem. You cannot say that words and pictures are the same. You might try to write about paintings, write about the pictures, but that conversion cannot happen. It's an unanswerable problem, infuriating in its obviousness. That's so obvious, and that's why it's so frustrating. Small wonder so many art critics ignore it. Clark analyzed it, wrote about the challenges he faced, but a lot of art critics ignored it. And it's not surprising. They don't want to say that, I'm incapable of explaining this painting in words. They won't do it. So they ignored it. Clark wants to write about Cezanne the way Cezanne painted the world. He wanted to write about Cezanne, use words the same way Cezanne used his brush to paint pictures. He wants to model. He doesn't want to just make an argument. His late prose style, with its strange blend of doubt and authority, finds its match in Cezanne's technique. Cezanne's technique of painting, Clark's technique of writing with a strange blend of doubt and authority are similar. Vivid observations collect one by one, but the result is to make their subject perpetually seem one more vivid observation away, sowing unease about the big picture. So you try to make observations one by one about the painting, but the result is that the subject, you think you're still not able to get the big picture. All right, so he tries to describe Cezanne's painting, and every time he describes it, he feels that he is missing the big picture. Maybe there is no big picture, only many pictures. Clark writes that Cezanne defined the modern condition by balancing not only banality and strangeness, but also plainness and hyperbole, seriousness and sensuousness, lugubriousness and euphoria, evenness and disequilibrium. Cezanne in his paintings were depicting modernity by balancing two opposite things, not just strangeness and banality. Many other opposing features, contradictory features of modernity was depicted by Cezanne in his paintings. And so Clark had a problem writing a book about Cezanne's paintings. He can't decide if Cezanne painted reality or phantasmagoria. Was he depicting reality, because they had so many strange elements combined together? Is he really depicting reality, or is it some kind of fantasy that he is depicting? Nor if the way he painted them feels consoling or enriching. He can't even decide that. He can't even decide whether what the theme of the painting was, whether the painting was realistic or fantasy. He can't even decide if the paintings left you feeling consoled, or the paintings were consoling or enraging. What was the effect of the painting on him also, he couldn't tell, because Cezanne's paintings were so complicated, having all these elements and themes in them. This endling, swerving disease at first, but after a while, this endless doubt, is it this, is it this, is it this, is it this, I can't decide between this and this. It disease, it makes your head reel at first. It makes you say, what's happening? It confuses you at first, but after a while it comes to seem like an essential piece of Clark's argument. First you can't understand what he's saying. After that you realize that that is his argument, that may be an essential element of his argument. He offers brilliant description after brilliant description of Cezanne's paintings, none of which quite does the trick. So he's analyzing the painting through brilliant description. Somewhere he does not still capture the essence of Cezanne's paintings. He misses the trick somewhere, because words cannot be depicted, paintings cannot be depicted into words. Fantastic painting, first about Cezanne and his painting, then about Clark's description, the problems Clark faced, and last bit on why he probably faced those problems. That's what the passage is about. In the statement, small wonder so many art critics ignore it, the author points out that, in what does the author point out by this statement? Describing Cezanne's paintings is a frustrating task. Many art critics ignore Cezanne's paintings because they do not understand them. Frustrated artists turn into art critics but don't want to admit it. Art critics do not admit that it is well nigh impossible to describe the essence of pictures in words. Let's go back to the given statement. Whenever you're given a statement, always go back to the relevant part of the passage and read it. Read the little part before it, sometimes after it, and you will understand the context, or you will understand what the author is implying or pointing to. Here it is. Clark has written about the challenges of converting pictures into words. His analysis of paintings are an analysis of what it means to analyze paintings, right? He also analyzes the process of writing about paintings. Words and pictures are not the same, and they never will be. You cannot ever analyze or describe paintings in words, because words are inadequate to describe pictures. Okay? This is obvious, and it's that obviousness is frustrating. When you want to do it, you are a good writer, but you're not a good painter. You're a good art critic. You want to write, you want to describe what you're seeing, but words are inadequate to uh, describe pictures. Words and pictures are never the same. They cannot be the same. That's a problem. That's an age-old problem for which there are no answers. But so many critics ignore it. Ignore what? Ignore the fact, ignore the problem that words and pictures are not the same, can never be the same. You can never write about pictures as accurately or what you want. You cannot describe pictures using words. Words are inadequate to describe pictures. But art critics ignore this problem. They don't even behave as though this problem exists. You don't want to admit, right? I can't describe something that I'm critiquing. But Clark says that you cannot. Words and pictures cannot be the same. You cannot describe in words what a picture is. That's what he means. Art critics, and this is a problem. This is a fact. It's a problem. It's an unanswerable problem. But art critics ignore this problem. Okay? That's the answer. Let's look at the options. Describing Cézanne's paintings, no. Art critics ignore the fact that words and pics can never be the same. And whatever is the meaning of this statement, right? Many art critics ignore Cézanne's paintings. He didn't say nothing about understanding Cézanne's painting, the inability to express or describe them. Frustrated artists out of scope. Correct answer is D. Art critics don't admit, ignore the fact that you cannot describe a picture in words. It's almost impossible to describe, well nigh impossible means almost impossible to describe the essence of pictures in words. Describe pictures in words. So the correct answer is D.